Welcome to Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Jesse Ott, the host of this podcast, which is all about beverage innovation. I talk with innovation pioneers from agriculture to glass. This week, Lisa Leventhal, Chief Fire Stoker at the House of Somrus. She has an incredible journey that started with her career at Disney right here in Orlando, Florida. She shares her experience in the world of Mickey before branching out to Bloomin brands and Darden restaurants, where she focused on operations and opened new restaurants all over the U.S. She then transitioned to a smaller, family-run company that had 20 to 30 various concepts and was the GM and Beverage Director for Balboa Café in San Francisco. This is when she first tried the House of Somrus and put it on her cocktail menu. Little did she know she would one day work for them. Realizing she needed a change from San Francisco, where real estate is overly expensive, she looked into Chicago, where her brother lived, and she could get a 2-bedroom, 2-bath for less than she was paying in rent per month. She worked for the Alina Group, where she met the owner of the House of Somrus in her office building, and it was an instant connection, and well, the rest is history. Thank you for listening, and be sure to subscribe to be notified of all new episodes. Welcome to Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Jesse Ott, and I have guest Lisa Leventhal here with me today. Hi, Lisa. How are you doing today? I'm doing
good.
great.
How are you, Jesse?
She is representing the House of Somrus today, and I'm super pumped because you got a great award this past week with WSWA. Do you want to talk about it?
We did.
All
Somrus
right.
Coffee got Best in Show
Wow,
and a
that is
double
huge.
gold. It was awesome. Yeah, it was great. We got to have an extra day of tasting people on the floor who may not have tried the product before and everything like that. And then we got to invite them back to our
that
suite,
is
which was
super
super fun. We held like an ice cream social in the afternoons where people could come and get ice cream and put
Nice.
Somrus all over them. One of the
I
best
love
ways
it.
to
So what's the
consume.
percentage alcohol in it then?
The percentage alcohol is 13.5%, so it's like a little bit lower
Yeah.
than like most cream liqueurs, but it's super smooth, really sessionable, and our cream is actually really light as far as like the viscosity goes versus some
Okay,
older,
so
more
it's kind of
traditional
lighter. What is it?
creams.
Is it I guess it's dairy. Or it's not oat or
Yep, produced in Wisconsin, which is,
there you go.
arguably the best
Hey, we've
dairy
eaten
in the
cheese curds on
US.
this podcast, now we got dairy. So yeah,
Right?
I had Dylan Stoley on a few weeks ago, and he was from Wisconsin, and so I had no idea that brandy was so big there, and then so we had a brandy cocktail and we had a vodka cocktail, and we had a taste of cheese curds with both. It was fun. It was a good time. Yep,
That sounds like
exactly.
Wisconsin.
So, where are you from, Lisa?
I'm originally from Florida, but I'm located in the
So you
Chicago
went to Central
area.
Florida, right here in Orlando. Yeah. So
I
it's
did.
funny
Mhm.
we flipped. I'm from Iowa,
Oh, yeah.
and I live down here part time. So
Oh, funny.
yeah, we love it. We love it here. We're in Lake Erie,
Nice.
which is just north of Orlando. Are you
Yeah, my
okay? So
dad's
you
still in
were
Orlando.
born and raised then in Orlando.
In the South Florida area, but
Oh,
I
okay.
split time, between,
Okay.
like,
Yeah, I
Miami
spent
and
some time
Orlando.
in it was Hallandale technically, but it was, Fort Lauderdale.
I'm
Oh,
Hollywood technically, but I just say Miami because it's
yes.
easier for people to
Yeah,
understand, but
I
I know
know
exactly
exactly
where
where I
Hollandale
lived in
is.
Hollywood my first few months. I had a contact of mine. There was a house that was going through the woman had passed, and so there had this one
Yeah.
bedroom like a room above the garage. So I hung a hammock in there for my couch, and I had my bed, and I had like a little hot pot, but I had a saltwater pool and literally was on the beach. Yeah, and then
Love that.
great for
That
like the
sounds
2 or 3
great.
months I was there, and then I literally had to get out of there within 24 hours. I had no time. Yeah, so but
Oh,
anyway, I
no.
made my way around. That area has completely changed. There's in Hollandale off the beach where I ended up living, a woman from Iowa used to own this fish restaurant. I don't know if you ever spent much time there. But I went back a couple of years ago. We went on a cruise to Cuba, and it's now a fire station. It is longer there.
Oh, there has been a lot of
Yeah, it
change
really
down there in
has.
South Florida.
So you were from Miami proper there? You lived in Miami some of the time and went back and forth?
Yeah, pretty much. And then I started my collegiate career at Florida State and then got a job at Disney, so
Nice.
relocated to UCF. Like most Floridians at some point worked for
I don't know.
the
I think it would be
mouse.
a lot of fun. I think you have to do it once. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a ton of fun. Like probably the best training
In what
experience I've ever
way?
had in my life. You know, it's like a complete immersion
Okay.
into a culture.
That's really cool. And I
Yeah,
would imagine that the staff has a lot of fun together.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's fun creating Disney magic all day,
Oh,
every day, right?
absolutely. Um, I actually last summer was every Sunday I went into the pool and watched something Disney. It was my Disney afternoon day, and I ended up watching this series on Disney, and it's fascinating. The whole story is just absolutely fascinating, and how it started.
There are so many interesting, like, behind the scenes things and, like, interesting facts
Yeah.
about Walt and, like, how he came up with the crazy ness that is Disney today. Like, on Main Street, you won't ever see anyone taking out the trash because he thought it was, like, not a good look to have, like, a janitor be moving by and collecting trash. So all of the trash cans in Main Street have
Uh-uh.
chutes beneath them, so you never have to see anyone taking out the trash
What a
because he
great
thought it was like
idea.
an eyesore. And then there's a lot of trash cans on Main Street. And what Walt did was he walked through the park and he was tearing an orange. And every time he dropped a peel, he was like, well, that's where a trash can needs to go.
Are you
And he like
serious?
walked all the way down the street doing it. So like,
Yeah, that
yeah,
is so cool. I you can't really get enough of the minds of these creative people. And what I know
they're geniuses.
really
Like they really are.
honestly, and I feel kind of silly. I didn't know that Disney started with the riverboat cruise. Yeah,
Oh,
I
the
had no
riverboat
idea.
tour.
It started with that because he wanted to take people that couldn't travel and create this, experience. This jungle cruise is
Yeah.
super cool. Is And then I
Yeah.
think in Epcot he wanted that to be a multi-use property, I think, if I can remember that right.
Epcot stands for Experimental Prototype
Ah.
Community of Tomorrow. And technically, if you've ever been to Celebration, Florida, it's a town that's very close to Disney, the Disney property. And it basically is like Epcot. It is like what Walt imagined a community to be, with like a main street and like these perfect houses with like white picket fences. And if you buy there, your like mortgage is for something crazy like 99 years. You like don't own the property. It's like on Disney
Oh, so at
property
least he got what
technically.
he wanted then.
He did. I mean, he died so much, further before that happened,
Yeah.
obviously. But yeah, that was kind of the idea behind that whole
That's really
community.
cool. I'm glad something kind of, or at least part of what he imagined came true, whether it was, after he passed or not. But
Yeah.
that's really cool. I mean, it's just an amazing brain, that guy. And and the movies
Yeah.
obviously are fantastic. I had a lot of fun in the in the sun.
It sounds
It
like
was
some good
really fun. I
Sundays to
learned a lot
me.
actually, and I watched movies that I hadn't
Mhm.
caught, before, because they're fun. They're for kids obviously, but adults enjoy them just as much as kids.
Oh, they're definitely feel
Yeah,
good movies.
yeah,
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 they put you in a good
definitely.
mood.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I guess we got sidetracked on Walt Disney, which is good. Um, I I forgot to ask you about a place in Hollywood. So before we go any further, Le Tub. Does that mean anything to you?
Oh, La Tub.
Isn't that the greatest?
Absolutely. My mom got
No!
proposed to at La Tub from my stepdad.
That is
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
cool.
We used to go there all the
So,
time.
I happen to be living there, in the middle of them getting that best burger in GQ.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow, that
Yeah,
must
you
have been
couldn't get in.
crazy.
You couldn't get in, and there's this
Yeah.
one guy who's literally cooking in, I mean, in a smaller kitchen than this room. Poor guy, but oh man, the burgers are so
Mm-hmm.
good. The seafood salads, oh, so good. It's like I
So
need to fly
good.
down there just to eat.
There are a bunch of those like great mom and pa little places in like Hollywood Beach
Yeah,
area,
and what was
Hollandale
cool
Beach
too, it's on
area.
the intercoastal, so people could dock up, and um, you know, it's
Yep.
pretty neat place. When I yeah,
Really fun spot.
when we used to come down for a national sales meeting, I'd take my colleagues there, and it was always a favorite. It's fun. It's kind of a drive from Fort Lauderdale, but it was worth it.
It's worth it. For
Yeah,
sure worth it.
definitely. So I had to ask that. It's for those of you that don't know, it's this indoor outdoor um restaurant that's been there for I don't know how long, forever. And it's called The Tub, and they
Forever.
literally have a toilet a toilet out front, right? And then in the parking lot they have like tubs and
Yeah.
toilets and stuff. It's the best. It's the best.
Uh-huh.
We went back
It was
when
a
we
good
went on our
time.
cruise. I was like, we have to go get food at La Tub, and so we went, and we went to go get food, and we had to wait an hour to get it to take
Oh my
back. Yeah, kids
gosh,
weren't
that's
even hungry by the time we got
crazy.
back. But anyway, I digress. Okay, so we're in Central Florida. So what all did you do at Disney? What kind of what part of the theme park did you work in?
I started in the Disney College program and I was in
Okay,
Animal
my wife
Kingdom
loves
for
that
a
one.
really long time, in food and beverage. And then I was asked to stay on after my college program ended, and I moved over into resorts. I was at the
Okay,
Polynesian for a little bit, and then I
okay,
went into
which is the
events.
fun part.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I did
So
all the
what kind
fun
of
stuff.
events did you do?
Anything from a corporate
Oh
event to
wow,
like
okay. And
weddings.
you were working for all of Disney then, so any property or any place that there was an event?
Basically, a lot of events happened in Animal Kingdom. And since I was so familiar with that
Yeah.
property, it was super easy. That property used to close the earliest. So, like, companies would rent out the
Wow.
whole park and stuff to do like large dinners and events because it closed at
Wow.
6. So we could clear the park in under an hour and then get certain areas of it set up for events, and not disturb any of the
Oh, that's
animals or
super
anything
cool
like
because I
that.
know my wife loves that place, and it's the one place we haven't been yet, and she likes to go at night. So that's com-
It's beautiful at night, but it's only recently in the last couple years been open later than
huh.
like 6
That's
PM
interesting.
because it's a hot park. There's like
Oh,
no coverage. So if you're there like on a
it's too
hot
much.
day in the summer, it's a little bit too much. So I would agree with her. You want to go when it kind of is cooling down, like at dusk is a really nice time because also the animals all come out then because again, they escape from the heat. So like in the middle of the
Right.
day, they all go inside and eat and lay down and like chill. They're not like
Yeah.
out and about.
Okay. Very cool.
It's why Animal Kingdom won't have any fireworks ever too. I know they have a laser show now, but they can't have
Yeah, that
fireworks
makes
because it
total
would scare the
sense.
animals.
Yeah. Well, and
Mhm.
didn't Disney just had their 50th? Was it their 50th? Uh, so that's
They just had their 50th and it's the 100th like
100th of Mickey.
anniversary of
Okay.
Mickey.
Yeah, that's been a obviously
Mhm.
being in Florida, it's been a really big deal. We love Disney Springs.
For sure.
Oh, we've had
Disney Springs is great, and thank goodness they have like 2 parking structures
Oh
now
yeah,
because like they
it's a
need it.
circus. It's a you it's in it, but it's
It's
so easy. I mean, you
huge.
walk. You have to be prepared to walk. Um,
Yeah. Anywhere on Disney property, you have to be prepared to walk. It's kind of like the Las Vegas Strip. Everything seems like attainable. Like, oh, you can see it because it's like so
yeah,
larger than life. You're like, oh, it's a mountain over there,
yeah,
but it's like a mile away. And you're
yeah,
like, oh, okay, cool.
yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say something and I totally forgot. I was thinking about Vegas.
Oh,
um,
I crossed
yes, you
your
did. That's not hard to
wavelengths.
do these days. Okay, so Disney sounds like a lot of fun. So what happened after Disney?
I started working for larger, like, I found that restaurants
Okay.
were kind of my niche. Like, I loved working with people in that capacity. So I started working for Darden in restaurants and the Outback Group, which I
Right.
don't know what their name is now. I think they're Bloomin' Brands
So you
again, or
worked at the
I'm not
corporate office here in
sure.
Orlando?
Um, mhm. And I did a lot of training and opening stores and stuff like that. But started as, a server, bartender, trainer, and then kind of just worked my way
Yeah,
up through the
I
ranks.
do love well, I love food and beverage, right? So that's I'm all in, but I do love restaurants a lot. I have several concepts. If you ever want to open one, let me know. I've got several ideas. But there's
Oh my gosh,
right,
ideas aplenty,
hard.
but restaurants are hard
Ugh,
work. Like everyone goes out to eat, but not everyone's like worked in a restaurant. And I think people think that restaurateurs are like rich, because they see people like Guy
right.
Fieri or Gordon Ramsay and but the margins on
I
restaurants are
know.
so slim. And you always have to have like a perfect ratio of how much liquor, beer, and
Yep,
wine you're selling to food, and then controlling costs as far as like labor. And then with the current
I know.
shortages on things or the insane prices on some food items, I can't even imagine how that's like
Yeah,
squeezing the industry currently. I mean, it's why so many businesses went out of
yeah. I
business during COVID. It was just impossible to operate under some of those restrictions with like the
yeah,
capacity
I
levels.
totally agree. Um, it's because I was gonna open a restaurant or pretended to pretend to want to do it, whatever. I was listening to some, restaurant podcasts and whatnot to learn, and for some reason it sticks out in my mind that restaurants, if you're lucky, make 3% margin. And if you're making 3% margin, then you're doing pretty
That
good.
sounds about right.
And I don't have any
Yeah.
idea. I've never run a restaurant, so I don't even know if that's if that's accurate or not. But um, that's
It's probably not far off. It sounds a little
yeah.
bit bleak, but it's
Right,
probably
and
not
I know
too far
restaurants
off.
here, there's a couple of seafood restaurants that they can't take on more business. And one of them, he was a
Mhm.
market that turned into a restaurant, and it's just it's awesome. Like the other one, the other
Yeah.
seafood place, they can't get fish dip. They outsource their fish dip, and because of labor, they can't get. And I don't know anything more than that, but it's really good
Yeah.
fish dip. We're going to there tonight,
Yeah.
so maybe I'll get lucky and they'll have it. But you're right. I mean, these are big challenges, and then there's the capital expenditures and rent or whatever it is, and then you think about all the elements that
Mhm.
go into it. But you need an architect to design the place. Then you got to pick out literally everything, right, from chairs to tables. You know,
Everything. And then there are like those variables that people don't think
yep,
of, like labor. Like, I don't know if you've ever been a
yep,
babysitter in your life, but, imagine, or being a teacher in a
hmm
classroom, imagine having 30 to 60 to 100 people under one roof, all revolving through multiple shifts or multiple day
yep.
parts. And, you're
Right,
like the
yeah,
principal of the
and it's
school.
it's interesting you say that because Dylan is a GM of Beckett's, and he has 60 employees. I can't even imagine trying to manage that.
Yeah.
I mean, that just seems so
Yeah.
overwhelming to me. And then he's got college kids that are coming and going. I admire people that can do that, because you wear so many hats in the restaurant industry. You have to be PR, you have to be customer
So
relations.
many.
You gotta
Yeah.
the have to have a chef, obviously, and then the right menu.
You're also like a
That's right.
therapist, you're like a, you know what I mean? Like you the juggling, I used to call it juggling, like having all of these different balls up in the air at once and just making sure none of them dropped, making sure none of them hit the ground. And you invest in these people as
Right.
much as they invest in you, right? So it's like controlling a
Yeah.
mini village. Um and really then, on top of it, trying to like groom people and train people and
Yep.
get people to the next level. And there are certain selfish managers that keep people in the same role and don't let them progress because it makes
Right.
their life easier. because operations is literally like keeping your head above water. It's like just it's a constant just
It's like Groundhog
keeping your
Day. It's
head
like,
above
ugh.
water. Oh, it absolutely is, with new, fun, interesting
Yeah. I mean, you
challenges.
just hope that when you go to your restaurant that your help shows up, right? You just hope that they're there. I mean, I think that would be the scariest
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, that's, you hope the people are there, you hope your orders come in, you hope, that the machinery is working, that the electricity is working, that everything is going to go swimmingly, and
Every
undoubtedly
time.
something goes wrong
It's
every
yeah.
day.
Yeah, it's
Every
never gonna be
time.
perfect.
So it's just a
Yeah.
constant
Yeah,
troubleshooting.
like the distributor maybe missed like a vodka, so you gotta substitute this vodka. I mean, there's always ways to like adapt, unless it's an event for a particular.
Yeah, and then when you work for someone like Darden, where you have like a whole marketing team who's rolling out like these specials and limited time offerings and all this stuff, they're usually people that have like never worked in the restaurant. So they're like, "Oh, here's
Oh,
this fun new thing that you guys get to do. Here's like all this extra work that you get to do, but like for no extra money, but like here, it's going to be
we're
so
gonna
much
make so
fun. You're
much
going to
money
love
on
it."
it.
Right, right. And we are going to make so much money off of this, and you're just going to work harder, but it's going to be great for everyone.
Yeah.
So there's a
Hmm.
lot of disconnects from like the ivory tower
That
to the
makes total
operations
sense.
level.
I guess they should have some
Um,
kind of a training.
so I'm always very cognizant when I'm trying to build a program or implement new cocktails and stuff into programs, how we do that and how we make it as simple as possible for an operator, because you literally are asking them to do more work on top of all the work they already have at
Yeah.
no financial gain.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's always a fun ask.
Well, and with your liqueur, that's a fairly I guess not simple, but it's fairly explainable, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are, very simple cocktails that you can make with cream liqueur, and then there are very intricate
Oh, we should
cocktails
have
that
made
you
some
can make.
cocktails. We'll have to have you
Um,
back.
I know I should have sent
Oh,
you
we
some
so
booze,
should
and
have.
we
It's
should have made
it's
some
really fun. It
cocktails.
was kind of an experiment I did with Dylan, and we both had so much fun. In fact, he's gonna do another. He's gonna do a podcast. He had so much fun. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
it's just fun. Yeah. Well, next
Very
time
cool.
we'll we'll
Yeah,
have you
next
on again,
time
and we'll
we will have
must do
cocktails.
cocktails,
Yeah.
and we'll double up.
I love that for us. We can
Sure.
double fist.
Yeah,
We're
you got this.
adults. We're
You
professionals.
definitely
We got
got
this. Mhm.
this. Okay, so you were at Darden in operations, training, opening new locations, which I always thought that would be really cool. Um, did you get to travel around then or live in different parts of the country as you were opening up these different locations?
I did get to travel, which is something I definitely love. It's probably my favorite part of the business. Having grown up in Florida, like I think people don't realize how
Really?
large Florida is, because on the scale on the map, it like doesn't look that.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like Texas or California. But from like the tip of Key West to north of Jacksonville to get to Georgia, you're talking
Yeah,
about
it's a lot.
12-hour
Yeah.
drive. Whereas like from LA to San Francisco is less than 12 hours, but it looks
Right.
huge on a map, you know? Um, so I loved exploring like other cities, other states and stuff like that. New store openings are
Yeah, it
always
would
an
be really
insane
stressful.
challenge, because you're usually trying to finish the building at the same time as like
Ugh.
hiring staff at the appropriate time so that you can continuously pay them and not have them sitting around doing
Yep.
nothing after they're trained, to being able to actually open
Well,
the doors to
and
the
if
public.
you're
So,
relying on the building to get built out, you always have to add 6 weeks. Our friends,
oh
it's
yeah,
double
it's
the
always
time.
like timelines. There was always projected
Right.
timelines and then like the actual to what was
Yeah,
done.
I would say if you're gonna get a
Um,
house built and they tell you it's 3 months, it's gonna be 6.
yeah, just
Yep, just
double
know
it right
that.
off the bat. Yeah.
That would be very
Yeah,
stressful, but at
exactly.
least in terms of the build out and everything, it was pretty standard, or that part was probably pretty translatable.
They were all very standard. Obviously, you'd run into like snags sometimes with um, the city or the state, getting approvals and stuff like that. That was usually where the biggest holdup was, because at least when I was doing this, there wasn't any kind of severe supply chain issues the way there are now. So, like, Darden would have like hundreds of booths and stuff in warehouses, and they would just ship however many they needed, right? And tables and this, that, and the other. Darden was well prepared for anything that could possibly go wrong. Like at one point, they had an issue with their produce vendor, and they were like, never again. So they literally bought their own like farms
Wow.
so that they wouldn't have to could
Wait,
cut out
hold up.
middlemen and stuff like that, because they never wanted to be
They
like
bought
left in the lurch
farms?
again. Yeah, so they like have like their own produce.
Wow,
like
that is so smart.
for like I'm trying to think of like when you get like a salad at like Olive Garden, when it has like all that stuff in it and everything. They at one point, I know they don't do it anymore, they were shipping like bags of it already mixed.
Wow.
So that it was just go. And they would clean it and do all the things out and then package it. They had everything like from start to
That's
finish
perfect
ready to
because
go.
it takes time. It saves. I'm sure it saves profitability
It saves labor and
on the
yeah.
kitchen staff, right? Because they don't have to.
Yeah, it helps with
I
consistency
wonder
and
why they
saves
would
time on
stop that.
labor.
So, where are these?
I think people started like altering, like, taking things out of the salad. So they just started like sending everything separately, but already cut and already done, already washed and cut, still ready to go. Same with like when they had Red Lobster and stuff. I know there's like a mix to their like salad and
Well,
Red
Lobster's good. I mean, they're biscuits, right? Everybody loves their biscuits. I don't know how they do
those
it
biscuits
every time. Yeah.
magic. Their own
Yes, it
version of
is.
Disney magic.
For sure. They have good salmon. I digress. Okay. So that sounds like a really interesting experience then at Darden, because it sounds like you kind of worked almost in all the different aspects of the restaurant, between training.
Yeah, it definitely helped with if I were ever to open my own restaurant, but like I told you, I don't
How
foresee
about
that
I
happening
hire
in my
you
future.
to
It's
run
just so
my
much.
spot? You want to live in Lake Mary?
I mean, I've been out of operations for a minute, and that's definitely been on purpose. Not that like the liquor industry is lighter as far as like working hours and being up all hours of the night. Still very
Yeah,
similar.
that's very true. I mean, especially if you have events and whatnot.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
Okay, so that's really exciting. So where was your favorite place that you opened? Do you have one?
I mean, I have some interesting stories. I don't know if it's like the funnest place, but like I got to open the stores in the
I do know
villages. I
about
don't
the
know if you know
villages.
about
Yep.
the villages. So there were a lot
That
of really
must
interesting conversations to be overheard in the
I can
restaurants in the
only
villages.
imagine.
Um,
I've heard some interesting stories.
a lot of
Yeah,
stories, I'm
only
sure.
because somebody that I used to know used to know
Yeah.
someone there. And then yeah, it's not far from here. It's like an hour and 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too far from there.
So yeah.
But yeah, I think I have the most entertaining stories from working in that
Anything
market.
you want to share?
But yeah, I left Florida finally because as much as I enjoyed working for all of these very
Yeah.
large corporations, it was hard to make
Yes.
effective change.
Understood.
Because they were so set in their ways, and even if it meant making the company more money, they would still like you'd have to have conversation after conversation after conversation before getting like approval to change anything. Um So after working my whole career in Florida, I moved to the West Coast and started working in the San
Well, that's a big
Francisco Bay
change.
Area for a hospitality group called
Okay.
Plump Jack
What
Hospitality.
do they do?
And they have like hotels, restaurants,
Oh,
bars,
wow.
nightclubs, retail locations. So it really ran the gamut
Wow.
of hospitality. And I think you can
Yes.
tell I love a good challenge. So it was really fun to kind of get to poke around into all
Yeah.
of those different types of hospitality
It's
experiences.
interesting that a company can do
Um,
that, you know, and be good at all
oh,
these different
absolutely.
concepts. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, they not they only, but between all of the properties, I think it's probably in the 20s or maybe low 30s. But all profit
Like
generating
20 to 30
properties,
locations?
um, great
You mean like
staff.
20 to 30
Huh?
locations? Wow.
Yeah,
Right.
of different entities. Not all the same entity. Um, like 4 retail locations with the same
What were they?
name.
What was
Um, management of a
okay.
couple different hotels. Um, so like they run Plum Jack up in like Squaw Valley, up in like
Okay.
the Tahoe area where the Winter Olympics were one year. And then like probably most notably the Balboa Café in San Francisco, which is like 100, maybe 112-year-old bar now. And
Yeah,
for
especially for
America,
West
that's
Coast.
pretty old, right? Um, yeah, so a staple in the city. Another great place to grab a burger. They do a burger on a
Yum.
baguette, and it's kind of like oval, and it's
Oh,
delicious.
making me hungry.
Yeah. So it was nice to go to a company where like you had direct access to the CEO and the COO and the CFO. And if you wanted to make a change that was going to, improve the staff's life or improve the quality of what we're putting out as far as cocktails or food, or make any of these significant changes, you could. So I really appreciated working for a smaller entity
Right.
where like my
You make a
opinion
difference.
mattered. Yeah, and make a difference in like these people lives, like explaining what like a livable wage was in a city like San Francisco, and being at the forefront of that movement before San Francisco even got to $20 an hour. It
Yeah,
just
for
made
sure.
people want to work for
Loyalty.
you, like if you were ahead of that curve, it showed you valued your employees, and
That's great.
we did. And we treated them like family. And it was great. And it's owned by a family. So it's really nice to have that like
Yeah, for sure.
intimate
So I guess
feeling.
they're kind of a multi-generational family of hospitality. Yeah,
Yep, pretty
that's
much.
nice.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
what did you think about San Francisco? Because I think it's kind of tough these days, isn't it? I don't know if there is a lot of problems when you were out there.
San Francisco still I don't think has bounced back post COVID. Um, the cost of living is so
Yeah.
egregiously high, and the living conditions aren't great. Like small apartments, like really old apartments that, I think the landlords don't have to like fix up or do anything nice to, because they're always going to have a tenant. And these people have owned these buildings for years. So like they're just
Yeah.
collecting money hand over fist. And
Yep.
the city is dirty. Like I live in downtown Chicago, and I constantly compare it to Disney because there are just little workers on the streets always cleaning. And Chicago has alleys, unlike San Francisco and New York.
Yeah,
So
no,
you
I
never
love
see
Chicago.
trash. It's not like when you're in Manhattan or San Francisco and like the entire
Yeah.
sidewalk is covered with trash
And you're
bags
walking at
and you
night
like
and
can't
there's
walk.
rats all over. It's gross.
And it's so clean. Like Chicago is
Yeah.
so unbelievably clean that I do often compare it to
Yeah,
Disney, and
we
people are like, "You're
we
crazy,"
went
and
to
then they
Lady
come and
Gaga
visit, and they're like, "Oh
last
no,
year, and
pretty
we
accurate."
went to Lady Gaga. Well, I grew up in
Hmm?
Iowa, so I grew. We went to the Cubbies and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we're a big fan of Chicago, and so my partner had never been, and so we went to Lady Gaga at Wrigley Field. It was postponed, of course,
Oh,
like
nice.
3 years, right, because of
Oh
COVID. But it
no.
was one of the most amazing experiences ever. A friend of ours, there was a sidewalk missing, and she was talking, and she landed on her wrist and broke it in several ways, so she didn't end up getting to go to the concert. So we're doing a redo, but we're
Oh
going
no.
to see Pink in, instead. Yeah. So we're going
Nice.
back to Wrigley, so we can do it again.
Awesome.
Oh, I love it.
Wrigley is great. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a huge sports addict, so Wrigley definitely
It
helped
did.
get me to Chicago.
Okay.
Oh my God, yeah. Because I was in San Francisco for the 10, 12, 14 when the
No
Giants won
way.
the World Series. And yeah, and when like the Warriors won almost all of their titles. I'm a huge baseball fan, and my brother was already living in Chicago. And the first time he took me to Wrigley, I was
It
like, "Oh
is
my God, this
magic.
is
It is a
magical."
lovely place.
It's like one of the only stadiums that like Babe Ruth played in, Joe DiMaggio played in. Like it's just so I don't know. It's like
Yeah, I agree.
heartwarming.
It's a great state.
The food still sucks and the beer still sucks, but like it's still great. As long as I have like a
Sure.
Chicago dog and like a cold beer on a
What is
hot
that?
day, it doesn't really
Piccadilly?
matter.
Piccadilly's, isn't that the hot dog
Ugh.
place? Portillo's.
Oh,
Sorry. Yep, thank you.
Portillo's.
Portillo's. Sorry, Portillo's.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we were going when our friend fell, and it was right in
Oh
like we were
no.
half a block away, and we were right next to a hospital. But there's hospitals on every block in
Oh,
Chicago. Yeah.
pretty
But
much, yeah.
yeah, we had so
Mm-hmm.
much fun just walking Chicago is really fun. We didn't
It's a
um
great
it
walking
was
city.
and it was chilly. Yeah, it was
When did you
no,
come?
it
What
was
time of year? It
August.
must have been the fall.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, we had
August
to
and it
wear
was
long
chilly?
sleeve shirts. It was really weird. I don't remember. I don't know why it was so chilly.
Wow.
And then we were staying at the is it the W right there? Oh, that looks over the harbor. And there was an
Uh-huh.
accident. Yeah, the one on
The
Lake
one on
Shore, and
Lake
there's
Shore.
like constant like it's very sad.
Constant
Yeah.
traffic.
I think a boat had backed up on somebody in the water. Like it and I was texting my friend.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
right near the
I was texting
playpen.
my friend. I was like, this just happened. She's like, unfortunately, that's like every weekend. And I'm like, ooh, that's sad. I think I'll pass.
Yeah, during the summer, because people are just like wild in the summer because
That's
we
true.
have such
I
long
don't really blame.
winters.
I don't. Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
we were literally across the street from the Navy Pier, which was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
and the
great
museums were
spot.
amazing.
Because either way you go, Navy Pier or into River North,
Yeah,
you're
we
like
love
in the
that.
thick of
We're
it.
gonna stay there again. So yeah. Anyway, I digress
Nice.
again. I'm sorry. This is a podcast about you, not my trips to
You're
Chicago.
fine.
But I share the love. I share your love for Chicago because it is really a lovely, lovely city. It's just really cold.
It is. It can be
And
pretty
you're right
miserably cold.
downtown, so that's fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what brought you then to Chicago from San Francisco besides the Cubbies? Yeah.
Predominantly cost of living. I was like, I don't think I can retire here ever. Like if I
Yeah.
stay in San Francisco, I was like, what's my like retirement plan
When
look
it's all
like?
going to someone else on the rent.
Um, yeah. So my brother was living in Chicago, as I said, and I came to visit and I started just looking at property prices and, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo downtown to buy was less expensive than my portion of rent in
Good
San
grief.
Francisco. So I was like, well, I should definitely start. Like, I'm old. I should start like building equity somewhere. Like, I can't just be
Right.
renting my whole life. Because I have to have a retirement plan here someday. Um, and so that was kind of the main focus. And then when I moved to Chicago initially, I started working for the Alinea Group. So that was super fun and very interesting. And that's where I ran into the
Okay.
owners of Somrus. And I had been buying Somrus when I was out in San Francisco for our restaurant group. And I just thought it was this crazy cool new product. And having worked in the industry for, 15 plus years at the time, I had never tasted anything like it. And that's like
Yeah,
pretty
especially
insane
sitting
to say.
in your seat seeing all kinds of stuff come through.
Yeah, thing I had tasted was Somrus chai, which used to be called the original, like Somrus, the original Indian
Okay.
cream liqueur. Um, so it was like really hard to decipher for people like what was in the bottle and what was the flavor profile. And I absolutely loved it. I like fell in love with it
What
the
was
second I
different about
tried
it?
it. And
Like the texture
what's
maybe?
so different about it? Like I said, the viscosity of the creams
Okay.
is really light. It's almost like the same viscosity of skim milk versus like
Heavy.
Bailey's is
Okay.
more like a heavy whipping cream. Yeah. It doesn't like completely coat your tongue in a way that just discombobulates all of your taste buds the way that Bailey's does and becomes like very overpowering. And because it's rum based, it actually plays really
Yeah.
well with any other spirit base. Um, there's absolutely no burn. It is like the smoothest thing to drink. Again, it's
Right.
only 13.5% alcohol by volume, so obviously it's not a ton of alcohol. But it's delicate and beautiful and light. The main flavor profile of Somrus chai is
Oh,
green cardamom, and I'm a
I like
huge
chai too.
chai like buff. I loved chai before like
Yeah,
Starbucks made
exactly.
it cool. Um, and like the Starbucks version of chai is really sad to me because it's
Yeah.
very like cinnamon based because cinnamon
Mhm.
is so inexpensive versus cardamom, which is the third most
I wonder
expensive
why.
spice in the
I didn't
world.
know that.
Um, yeah, the most
Yeah.
expensive is saffron, and then Madagascar
That
vanilla
makes sense.
beans, and then green
So where is
cardamom.
this green cardamom?
Um,
I mean, where does it grow? Or where do you buy it?
um, all over. I mean, you can get the pods in like
Yeah.
a Publix, to be honest.
Yeah.
I literally picked
Yeah.
some up for WSWA.
We have cardamom here.
Um, and it has like the most beautiful like floral almost scent. So chai is comprised of green cardamom, pistachio, almond,
Oh,
rose, and
rose and
saffron,
saffron?
and it just has this like
Oh,
I'll have to
I
send you
have to
some.
try it
You put it in your coffee. It's like a dirty chai
now.
latte. It's delicious.
How else do you drink
Um and so I was
How
using a
else do you
product.
drink it outside of
Hmm?
coffee?
So I used to use it in the restaurant in
Oh,
gin fizz because I had a lot of people who wanted a fizz but didn't want an egg white in their cocktail. And this cream foams a
okay.
ton when you chill it and
Gotcha.
shake it hard. So I didn't need to add like aquafaba and I didn't need to add an egg white. And the bar that I ran was such a high volume bar that I wouldn't have even had
Right.
time for that if I wanted to. So this was kind of like a cheater. I used Somers chai and I used Nolet's gin, a little bit of fresh lemon juice, a little dash of orange blossom
Oh,
water, and just shook and shook and shook.
huh.
Great cocktail. My kind of easy go-to with chai is a vanilla chai teeny with just some
Okay.
vanilla vodka. Um, and then in
Yeah.
coffee, it's
No
like
brainer.
a no-brainer. Or tea.
Yeah.
It's just so
Yeah, that
easy
stuff
and
flew off the
delicious.
shelves during COVID.
Um,
I'm sure everybody was putting something in
yeah,
their
yeah.
coffee.
I know because everyone was on those morning Zoom
Yep.
calls and everything. And yeah, I was definitely guilty of drinking like a whole bottle in a day, one day by
Yeah.
accident. It's just easy.
You don't
Like when you're pouring it in coffee and using it as your creamer, like it's just easy. You go through like 4 or 5 cups, you're like, oh no, this is feeling really light. Oh.
I'm doing half and half.
Right? So I was buying it a ton in San Francisco, and I was probably at the time one of their only
Oh, wow.
on-premise
So how
accounts
did you find
in the
him?
United States because they were very young. So a broker came to me one day, and I only even sat and met with him because he was friends
Okay.
with one of my managers. And you know, when brokers come to present
Right.
things, they usually have like 20 products. So he literally pulls out like 20 products and puts them on this table. And I like have to look at him and be like, well, I don't need any new tequilas, and I don't need any new whiskeys or bourbons, and I don't really need any vodka. So like, what else do we have? And this was kind of like the last man standing. Again, tasted it, had never tried anything like that in my entire life, and was thrilled and just was like, okay, I'm going to use this. So send me like a couple cases. And soon that guy like left and got a new job. So I started communicating with the
Oh,
owners directly
right.
because I didn't know where to get it. Because they didn't have a distributor, because California is one of the states where you can like kind of
Okay.
direct ship.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Interestingly enough, there's, crazy liquor laws, antiquated liquor laws all over
Yeah,
the United
Texas
States
being
and
one.
every state. And so I was communicating directly with the owners, and then so I knew their names. And then when I started working for the Alinea Group in Chicago, I was working on a day I wasn't supposed to be working. I was in an area I wasn't supposed to be in, and I had checked out all the reservations because the Alinea Group is very thorough on everyone that comes through the door. We like stalk people
Get
and find out who they
fingerprints.
are and what they do and if they have anything to do with hospitality. And I recognized the name of the owner. So when she came in, she wasn't in my section, but I went over and said, "Hey, are you the same Monica Badlani with Somrus?" And she was like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm Lisa Leventhal." And she was like, "From Balboa Café in San Francisco?" And I was like, "How do you know me?" And it was because we'd been communicating so much, and I was ordering cases and cases
Yeah.
and cases of this product. And I was in like their PowerPoint presentation. It's like, "Oh, this is how you
Nuh-uh.
use it in restaurants and stuff like that." And I didn't even know. She like pulled out her laptop. She's like, "Here you are." And I was like, "Oh my
That is
God."
cool.
So she invited me to drinks. She was like, "You have to come work for me." Mind
Right.
you, like we're in my place of work. And I was like, "How about we get a cocktail, girl? Like that sounds good. Let's just get a drink and like talk." And so we did, and then I met the rest of the team, and female driven, female led, minority led, all
Oh, check,
things that I
check,
was
check.
like, these are my people, like
Yeah.
this is my jam. Um and I was just like, it was so serendipitous that we
Yep.
even ran into each other. I was like, this has to be my next move.
I
Like this
love
is it.
that story.
So that's how I came to be
That is
with
super cool.
Somrus.
Like one in a million, really, on how that would ever, how you would
Yeah,
land, be in the same building, same floor, same area.
right.
uh,
Yeah, and
yep.
even just paying attention that day, because like there are plenty of days I'm sure I went to work and was either exhausted or overworked or whatever and didn't
Yeah.
pay as much attention. And I put the name together with what I knew
Right.
that how I knew them, and
That
it
is
worked. It
super
panned
cool.
out for me.
Congratulations. I love this story. Um, super, super
Thanks.
cool. Can we go back to and talk about the cocktails that you were just talking about and how, like, did you have a team that would work together, or did you have a bartender or someone that you um would work with to kind of come up with these different, because I would never know to put this water with this, and like how could you, the way you explain that cocktail, there's so many different things going on, but I'm sure it came together perfectly, but I can't get my head wrapped around all these ingredients in this cocktail.
Sure. Yeah, no, I had an extremely talented bar staff. My bartenders had been working at the Balboa Cafe for like 20 plus years. They've basically been there since inception of this ownership group taking charge of this property. Um, and we were very fortunate that since we were such like a standard in the city and
Hmm.
like a classic bar, that all of our cocktail builds were classic cocktail bases with
Oh,
like riffs. So, a gin fizz, we literally just exchanged out a couple ingredients to make it like a simpler execution. Because all of our cocktails were like the fizz was like the most touch points
okay.
because there were four. Most of the other cocktails are like 2 to 3 ingredient cocktails just because of ease of
Well, how, well,
execution
you
and
must have been
speed.
it's a high volume place
Um,
then. I'm guessing.
Super high volume. Thank goodness I had that background with like Darden and Outback to really be able to kind of hone in on how to get certain flavor profiles using the most minimalistic ingredients. Or creating simple syrups from scratch that had like were packed with flavor so that you didn't have to do a lot of crazy things to um, manipulate a
Yeah,
cocktail into
that
tasting
simple
good.
sugar, that's a great way to get a great flavor because
Yeah, simple syrups are
yeah,
kind of the easiest
yeah,
way and the least
definitely.
expensive because if you try to infuse a vodka or a rum or tequila and you mess up, like you messed up the most expensive part of the
Yeah, I
cocktail.
have a love-hate relationship, I guess I would say, with sugar because in cocktails, because for me, I mean, obviously I'm a beverage person, right? It's been my whole career. I want to taste the bourbon. I want to taste the tequila. I don't want a pint glass margarita. Like, and to me, when I
Sure.
see that pint glass margarita, I just go, oh, the sugar in there, because it's like uh,
Right, like, "Oh god, what's the filler in here?" Because all I really want is, like, tequila and
yeah,
fresh lemon and lime and, like, a little bit of something, like, a little
exactly. And
orange.
so when I made those cocktails with Dylan, these were not 3 ingredients. These were a little bit more than that. And muddling but I realized at that point the importance of a little bit of sugar, because I found that it does.
Sugar,
It
it
kind of it,
balances.
it kind of binds all
Yeah.
these different flavors together and smooths them out. It was
It's really, like, sugar, acid, and
yeah,
spirit. And that is the right ratio. Like, once you know the ratios, you can literally make anything. Like, no cocktail recipe is original. And if anyone tells you that it is, they're just a liar. Like, they're all based off of like mathematical equations and ratios that work, that are tried and true, just with newer
right,
ingredients or different
different
ingredients.
flavors.
But it's it's hard. Like, the tiki drinks for me, like, people that do tiki, like, I bow down to those people. You're talking about,
Yep,
like, 6, 7, 8 touch points and all, like, quarter ounce, half ounce,
true.
quarter ounce, like, bar spoon, and you're like, 3 dashes of this and 2 dashes of that, and I'm like, my brain doesn't work like that. I can't even remember all of my
Yeah,
friends' phone
I
numbers
get that. I don't
anymore,
even know my
like
dad's cell phone number.
So, like, I try to make recipes where my mom can
I could
make
make them.
them. That's that's usually my, like, litmus test is, "Hey, Kathy, can you put this together? Like, if I give you this, can you figure it out?"
Huh.
Um, because, most people that are buying cream liqueur too, they're buying it to enjoy in the privacy of their home. They're not, like, going out to a bar and getting wasted and being like, "I'll take 20 shots of Somrus." Like, that's not what's happening, so I try to make things as simple as
So
possible.
you are in this meeting with this broker. You try the chai, right? That's Did he just have the chai? Because I think you have
Mhm.
another flavor we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, back in the day, all they had was Somrus,
Okay.
the original cream liqueur, which we now affectionately call chai because it's
Yep.
just less of a
Easy.
mouthful and really in one word explains
4
everything in the
letters. Yeah.
bottle. So a couple years after that, they released Somrus Mango.
Yummy. I have not.
Have you tried this one? Have you
No,
tried any of them? I
I
need
should
to
just
save a
go down
product.
to
Okay.
the store and get some.
Um,
It's making me thirsty.
Publix, all your
Oh,
Publix and
okay. What
ABC
about Pat's?
liquors
Pat's is like a little
in
chain
Florida.
around here.
Yeah,
I'll have to look.
I'm
I'll find
not
it.
sure. I just know the big names because it's easier for me to tell someone to go to
I love
Publix. I
Publix.
also love Publix. It's like the
I
only
know.
reason
I
I'd move
love
back to
Publix
Florida.
too. It's just that their wine prices are so high. Yeah. I don't
Oh,
know
they're
about
atrocious,
liquor.
right?
I guess I don't.
Yeah.
We
You don't go because not all of them
That's
have
right.
those little
That's right.
liquor stores
Cuz
next door. Because Florida's one of those
next
stores where
door.
they can't sell
Yeah,
liquor in
so
the
we
store. Yeah.
Oh, Florida. Oh,
Oh,
Texas is
Florida.
worse. But
Texas is way worse. Pennsylvania is worse.
oh,
There's a
that's
bunch of
true.
control
That's
states that are
true.
way
Iowa is
worse.
one of those too. Um
Yeah.
yeah, so we have a Winn-Dixie, a brand new Winn-Dixie over here, and they can't beat their prices, and then all their points, and I yeah, we end up
Right.
going to Winn-Dixie. It's even better than they don't have the selection obviously as a Total Wine, but it's a 20-minute drive to get to Total Wine from here. So we just go to Winn-Dixie.
That's a
Yeah,
lot. That's excessive for like a couple bottles of wine, you know what I mean? I guess if you're going for a whole case or like you're having a party or
right.
something, like
Yeah.
maybe go out of
Yeah.
your way,
We're
but
spoiled. We have all that in Dallas. We have like 10 grocery stores, specs. Yeah. With
so many
literally within
specs.
less than 5 mile radius of our house. It's crazy. Total Wine, specs. Yeah.
Wow.
It's insane. We're so spoiled. But yeah, Publix. Okay. I will look at
I love
Publix.
Dallas.
Yeah, I
That's a
love
great
Dallas
market.
too.
Yeah, so then they came out with mango and so all of the flavor profiles are based on Southeast Asia,
Okay.
specifically India. Um so in northern India, everyone drinks
Okay.
tea. They drink chai. And then in southern India, everyone drinks coffee. And this is specifically
Okay.
like chicory coffee. And in the south of India, it was
Yep.
part of the spice route. So, coffee originally, when it was passing through India, was so expensive that they added chicory with it to cut
Oh, you're
it to make
kidding.
the yield grow. No, they had to do something because it was just so
Interesting.
egregiously expensive. So it's very similar to the same kind of
Netherlands.
coffee that you'd
Okay.
find in like New Orleans,
Okay.
like
We're
what you
going
get
there
at Cafe
tomorrow.
Du Monde. It's delicious. Yeah, it's great. And then Alfonso mangoes are like the national fruit of India. They're often referred to as the Rolls Royce
Really
of
love
mangoes.
mango.
They have a really short
Okay.
growing season. And when they're imported to the United States, they're like almost $10 a piece. The flesh is very consistently referred to as the same consistency of like a creme brulee. It's not like a normal mango that's like stringy or anything like that. You
Scoop
can
it.
literally just kind of like scoop it out, and it's very similar to like a creme brulee consistency. And it's a smaller mango
Okay.
with a larger pit. So there's less fruit
Oh,
as well.
kind of like a
So,
champagne.
but that is like the
Okay.
true flavor of this. My mom puts this on her vanilla ice cream. It's like her favorite like
Mm,
after dinner
yeah,
snack.
my dog
So
and I
good.
love mango so much. It's her favorite fruit. At least I think it is. She loves it. Bananas and
Yeah.
mangoes. She just goes crazy. But I love mangoes so much. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna try that. And I love vanilla ice cream. So I
Yeah.
think that sounds like a good treat.
And if you go to Disney at all for the
Okay.
Flower and Garden Festival, we're being featured at the Pineapple Promenade on the Somrus
Oh, I
mango
saw
on the
that on
Dole Whip
LinkedIn. That is
right
awesome.
now.
And when is that?
It is it's going on
Huh.
right now, and I want to say it ends at the end of
Bummer.
June. Um, because Food and Wine starts at the beginning of July, and then Somrus Chai is featured at the India booth
Oh,
during
okay.
Food and
Well, we'll be
Wine.
back in June, so maybe we could hit both.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Get a
good.
little magic. Yeah.
A little Somrus in your life, yeah.
Cool. That's really, really cool. Um, I know you're busy. Do you have a few more minutes? I just have one more. I have one more journey I want you to
Yeah.
take us on, and it's kind of going back to San Francisco. It's going back to when you first tasted this chai. Um, what was your first thoughts?
Mhm.
Like, did you think of it as being a mixer in cocktails, or did you take the bottle or the case straight to the bar and be like, let's figure this out and like whip up some different cocktail ideas? Like, what's that process, or what was that process for you?
The first thing for me was just how unique the flavor profile was. It was alarming, for a better choice of words, in like such an interesting way that like my brain started kind of pumping on all cylinders and being like, I love this. Now, how do I incorporate this into some cocktails? So then I immediately started thinking of all like those old timey cocktails that use cream, like a pink squirrel or a grasshopper or a fizz. And I didn't start like busting it out and like making a whole bunch of cocktails all at once. I definitely got to that point, but I was just so thrilled to have found something unique and completely different to anything I've ever tried. Because like I said, that opportunity doesn't happen in my industry with how long I've been in the
No, it
industry.
really doesn't.
At this point, like
Yeah.
nothing surprises me, nothing like titillates my taste buds, but this one really took my mouth on a journey. I like
So
couldn't
it's just
stop
the
sipping it,
connection to the
and I
brand
was like,
on all cylinders, the different flavors that you were experiencing, the texture that you liked. It
mhm,
was lighter. Probably it was a nice finish,
mhm.
and it just was
Yeah.
a great experience from the beginning.
From start to finish, it absolutely was, and I think one of the things I started thinking was, if I were to try to infuse something else with these flavor profiles, it would take me so long to do, and I'd use so many ingredients and so many different things, I could never recreate this. So why wouldn't I just use this one bottle and make everyone's life easier?
Yeah, and it doesn't have a lot of
So that's kind of what
And it
happened
doesn't have
there.
the high alcohol content, so you could totally mix it. So
Yeah, and the other thing, I mean, this is a little bit insider information from an operator, is I knew that if I use this as the base spirit instead of a modifier, that I would keep people from getting drunk fast. They might have 2 or 3 cocktails instead of 1 or 2, and that cost-wise, it was more effective for me to use a less expensive ingredient as the bulk of the cocktail than a base spirit that
yeah,
would
very,
traditionally
very true.
cost
That's a
more.
really good point.
So from an operator's
Yeah.
perspective, I was winning all
I'm
over.
sure it was probably the most profitable drink on your menu.
It was the most profitable cocktail we had on the menu, and it was probably the 2nd or 3rd most popular cocktail behind things like a margarita
You're
and an
never
old
gonna,
fashioned, which, you're never
especially in
really gonna beat those
a
out
standard
on a
bar,
menu.
what seems to be like an old school kind of
Yeah.
concept that yeah, you're always gonna have those cocktails
Mhm.
for sure. So what was the
Of
ingredients
course.
again for that?
So
Mm-hmm.
it's Somrus chai, gin, but like a gin that doesn't I use no lets because it was
Okay.
very
Okay.
complementary to Somrus. And the nice thing is, even if you're using Somrus as the base, if you're using a gin or a vodka or a rum or a tequila, you can always taste the base spirit
Yep.
right through the whole cocktail. The cream portion never becomes overwhelming, and it's because of that lightness and the viscosity. So Somrus chai, no let's gin, um, a
Yeah.
little bit
What
of
is
orange
that?
blossom
Orange
water.
blossom water. That sounds
Um,
awesome.
um,
Okay.
it's kind of like rose water, and it's usually in like a tiny little bottle, and it usually has like an eyedropper
Okay.
because you don't want to
It's
like
almost like a
use
bitter.
too much. Like a very little bit
Okay.
goes a long way. It's kind of like a bitter, but like more
Essence.
like
Yeah.
the essence of
Yep.
something in a water form versus like an almond extract
Gotcha.
that's an alcohol base. Um, and I think that was it.
Okay.
The
Well,
recipe
anyway,
is on
I'm
the
just
website.
fascinated that you
Um,
came up with this cocktails. So that's amazing.
and then I mean, and I rotated it seasonally on my menu. So like the next one we did was like a pineapple pina colada with the
Ooh,
chai, and we used the chai as the
awesome.
base.
Now, what is there?
Yeah. So basically, like anything that had cream in it was just super easy. For October, we would always do a pink squirrel with it because it was so pretty and pink, and um, it mixed really well with the other flavors. But it's nice to have like a classic cocktail with
Yep.
a bit of a twist,
Agreed.
something bringing it into
Yeah, and I think when people
2020.
come to a restaurant and if they do have a cocktail menu, they're always going to be scouring. At least me. I mean, I know I'm in innovation and everything, but I'm always going to look for what's new, what's unique and fun. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, what's
Yeah,
unique in
definitely.
this,
Well, you
right?
this has been really fun. I love the product. Congratulations on a great career. It sounds like you've been able to live in a lot of really cool
Thank
places, meet a
you.
lot of really amazing people. Just even starting with Disney, I'm sure you're still in touch with a lot of those people just because it's such an incredible experience.
I am, as you can tell by our Disney presence, the
Oh,
summer's
that's true.
presence at
That's true.
Disney.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. Yeah, good point. Very
Hmm.
good point. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's very cool. I guess maybe we'll have to go and have a cocktail when I come to Chicago this summer.
100%. Please, you have
Yeah,
my
that would be
contact
fun.
information. Hit me up, and we can go to some cocktail places here that use
Ooh,
Somers
that
in
would be
very
really
interesting
fun. There'll be
ways
four of
as
us.
well.
So,
Yeah.
we'll
Nice.
come consume
Perfect.
some summers.
I love
Depletions.
it. Depletions, depletions,
Let's
depletions.
do it. Okay, well,
Let's
I will go
go.
to Publix and buy some right now because now I have to try it. I
I
know.
love
And
this
so
for
next
us.
time, I definitely want to make that cocktail from the restaurant, and then I guess I'll let you pick the others. Are you guys planning on
For
more
sure.
flavor
That's
rollouts?
easy. We feel like these 3 flavors
Yeah, I
really
was gonna say,
represent
yeah.
India, from top to bottom and kind of in a very
Mm-hmm.
well-rounded way. Um, we don't wanna be like
Yeah, the
Bailey's,
flavor
where
of the month.
there's
Yeah.
innovation for the sake of a line extension or just selling more cases. That's not our intent. Our intent is to kind of share with the world these unique flavors that have never been represented in the liquor space. Um, and yeah, we don't have any plans currently to extend the line because we
Well,
kind
three's
of
a
feel like
yeah,
these are our three
that's
kids and
right.
we'd like to see them
I think
through all the
three's a
way,
perfect number, actually. It's a good billboard if you can get
Yeah.
all three on the shelf, because the bottle.
Yep. Yeah, we've all three of Publix. It's a very nice facing. It's very bright and
I
colorful,
will
as
go
you can
take a
see.
picture. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited.
Perfect.
Oh, it's the little things in life, isn't it?
Awesome. It is. It is. I'm always so, like, delighted when I walk into a Publix, and I'm like, "There they are.
My
There
kids
are my
were
kids."
there.
Like, you feel so proud,
Seriously,
right?
I think
Like,
that would, yeah, I think it would be a very proud moment. I mean, Publix is a big chain, and from what I understand, they can,
Publix is
I think they work with
huge.
you regionally too, like, right? If you just want to be in a certain market or a certain area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like we didn't
Yeah.
really um go through my questions, but we talked a lot about the things we would have gotten to. But do you have any shout outs to any mentors that you or resources or anybody that
Um,
you're thinking of that kind of.
the women I work with here, that has really changed my vision on, like, careers and, like, glass ceilings and barriers to
That's
entry and
awesome.
all of that. Um, so it's nice to have kind of like a clan of women who are all so goal oriented and each of us has our strength, right? Like, I am not the financial person, and that is, like, with good reason. Like, while I have a pretty solid head on my shoulders, if you told me to throw a party, like, you've got to give me a budget because I will just, like, lose my mind. Because, like, when I worked for Disney, it was like, "Oh, you need a topiary of The Little Mermaid? I got you. I know who to call," right? So I have that same mentality of, like, we
That's
should go
right.
big or go home, right? Um, so it's really great to have all of them because they're such great sounding boards and, like, such experts in their area. Um, so it's nice to be able to voice my opinion and have it be heard, whether or not it is, like, the direction we go. At
Get to
least I get
get to
to,
the table.
give my 2
Yeah,
cents and I have a seat at the table. Yeah, that's super
yeah,
important and
I
empowering and
love that.
inspirational
Well,
to
thanks for
me, for
sharing that.
sure.
I'm glad to
Yeah.
know that there's those opportunities out there. We kind of live in a you
Yeah,
know
you just have to find them.
yeah.
It's like creating your own
Yeah, and you kind
destiny
of
in a way.
have done that throughout your career
Mhm.
too. You found you were in the corporate world, and then you moved to a family, and then now you move to a woman-owned business, and so you've definitely kind of found your niche.
Yeah, I have. This is like, my
That's
new
great.
work
I
fam.
love that. So do you guys work from home or do you have an office?
Yeah. We have an office, in the suburbs of Chicago, out in Burr Ridge, but I travel a significant amount, and
Most
I
of the
do
time.
work from my home, like,
Yeah,
in
that
between
makes sense.
traveling a lot.
Yeah, especially if you're
Yeah.
on a plane or train going somewhere. Lots of planes.
Lots of planes.
I I don't know what
Yep.
happened, but I just don't like to fly anymore. Just don't like it.
Ugh,
It's not
well,
my
I
thing
don't blame
anymore.
you.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
exhausting,
know.
and people at
I
airports have
know.
gotten crazy.
Well, I got COVID last week or going to Iowa. I got COVID. Thank goodness I
Oh,
didn't give it to my
no.
dad. But yeah.
Oh,
But
geez.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to be one of these people that are just going to get COVID so I'm going to be one of these people that just wear masks at Target and and Costco and airplanes
Yeah.
and airports, and I just have to be careful.
I still wear a mask
I
in the airplane, like, I just think it's, like, there's so many people, you've no idea where these people
Yep.
were,
And I
like,
feel bad cuz I was
I have no idea where I've been half the time or what time zone I'm in. I'm just like, I could have anything. I've been traveling for weeks at a
yeah,
time.
you
Like,
just
you don't
don't
know. I
know.
don't
I
know.
mean, I thought it was allergies.
Mhm.
And so here, I mean, I had a mask on, but I was coughing and, within my mask and everything, but it's still like,
Yeah.
I know that they say that the air is cleaned like in intensive care, like in ICU. Yeah.
It's,
It
like,
still stinks.
purified, but, like,
It still smells.
yeah, I'm like, it still doesn't smell good. So, like,
Yeah.
what are you
They need
guys
some of that
doing in
orange
there?
blossom essence water.
I know. Yeah, I know. I should just like
Yeah.
spritz some in the air.
Oh, this has been fun.
They might frown. TSA might
Yeah,
frown upon
they
that though.
probably would. Maybe. Well, someone will be
Yeah.
allergic. Somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
You know, you have to be careful about all that stuff now. I'm one of those people. But
Exactly.
but this has been really fun, Lisa. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me for, this time, and
Yeah,
definitely cocktails this summer. And
100%. And I appreciate you inviting me on here. And I'm always happy to do a part 2 with some cocktails if I know we didn't get through like half of your
well,
questions. And
I
feel
was the
bad.
one asking you the questions. I was so fascinated with your career, and then how like the whole cocktail thing really intrigued me. I think it's super cool. I love the story of how you were introduced to this company in a completely different role, and how it led you to being the face of the brand now. So I think that's like an incredible journey. So
Yeah,
I appreciate you sharing it with us. Okay.
of course.
Well, we'll see you this summer. Take care. Alrighty.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you in Chicago.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
This week's episode was produced by Fedora J Productions.